We are living through the Great Reset.
Eventually, we will have three kinds of the nations. One kind of nation still using traditional fiat. Some countries will start to evolve into CBDC, doing central bank digital currency. But we will also see some countries like El Salvador, Caribbean countries in the future might adopt cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as their legal tender or financial settlement infrastructure.
What will the future of the world order be?
Have you heard about Bitcoin City? What is a Bitcoin City? No taxes on capital gains, no taxes on property, no taxes on payroll, zero CO2 emissions. It's gonna be powered by geothermal energy, but mainly you're gonna be in the right ecosystem to build all the companies or the tools that you want to actually build. It's a good time for El Salvador. It's a good time for Bitcoiners around the world. It's a good time for decentralized finances around the world. But I think it's not a good time for central banks.
Will this transformation be frictionless?
We have an old system dying. Yeah, it's like an animal that is about to die. What does an animal that is about to die do? It's like, rah, yeah? And that is exactly what's happening with governments at the moment. They feel that they are about to die. So what are they doing? They're doing rah, and rah in this sense means that they implement more control mechanisms, that they implement their own like digitized currencies kind of, but just replicating and digitized old structures. They're not inventing anything new.
This is a story of the future, the story of disruption, decentralization, and the impact that Bitcoin is creating around the world. The Future Is Now presents, together with Blockchance Media Unit, Gamb Power to the Merchants, and Tron, Blockchance Europe 2021. Aligning the future. What can we expect for Bitcoin in the coming years? We travel to Europe to get a deeper understanding of what is happening in the locus of control, the European Union. We meet a plethora of decentralized innovators who are pioneering the future. Fabian Friedrich, the founder of Blockchance Group.
When I heard first time about Bitcoin, I thought like, okay, this is so fucking amazing and so will change so much. Our lords, our president, they will not allow this. They will find a way to destroy this technology to be rolled out. And I think they underestimated how powerful Bitcoin is, how powerful blockchain technology is to change the world in a peaceful way. But I think as well there's a big chance that there will be kind of not a civil war, but a technological war against it.
Wolfgang Pinegger from Gamb Power to the Merchants with a solution that emits zero transaction fees, solving a major issue in the crypto space.
Centralization is everywhere. We are living in a total centralized world, from social media to anything, to banking, to governments, to taxes. Everything is totally centralized and by that way controlled by those who centralize. Crypto will be most probably the only way to escape this centralization step by step.
Fabian Vogelsteller, one of the primary contributors to Ethereum and the co-founder of the ERC20 protocol.
What was really important for me to understand when I got into this space is that money is what we give value to. So whatever people believe in has value, and there's nothing else.
How can the world of centralization become more open to these working concepts? To find answers, we meet with several government officials who are doing a number of breakthrough initiatives to educate the powers that be. From His Excellency, Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, one of the most influential cryptocurrencies in the world, who just recently became the ambassador to the World Trade Organization on behalf of Grenada.
when the barrier of financial infrastructure goes down to zero, we can benefit everybody in the world.
To sustainable futurists like Marc Buckley, who are heavily involved in working directly with the World Economic Forum and the United Nations in using decentralized technologies to fuel a greener and an all-inclusive future.
All of those civilization frameworks all operated on a hierarchy model. Wasn't decentralized, wasn't distributed, wasn't regenerative, wasn't resilient.
And William Soriano, a prominent advocate for Bitcoin and blockchain, a congressman from El Salvador, the country that made history in this new decade by adopting Bitcoin as its legal tender, with a portion going into its reserve currency.
3 months ago, only 30% of Salvadorans had access to a bank account. That's almost 1.2 million people. Before I boarded the plane to Germany, 3.8 million people had access to a digital wallet. That's roughly 80% of our population that has been financially included. And that's just impressive.
And women in blockchain like Veronica Couet, who is creating the next stage in the development of human coexistence by building free private cities, taking autonomy to the next level.
We just need to keep doing what we're already doing, is like building the tech, building community, and build a new system completely outside of the existing system. And we're like, hey people, we don't want to reform central banking. No. What we do is we're like, we're gonna play over there with our rules, and whomever likes our rules is happy to join us.
This is a story of change. This is a story of changing tides. This is the story of the future. Stay tuned.
Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, they are our allies if we really want to reach the mass adoption. So that's why I beat Warren Buffett lunch, try to convince him to become a crypto believer. And also, as we know, Elon Musk has got highly involved into our industry. He's also doing a lot of space exploration. So that's why I think I beat Bezos' space exploration. And I will choose 5 warriors next year to explore the space with me, which I think is very important if we really make Jeff Bezos as our friends and also Elon Musk to continue to develop our industry in the future.
Created by Oneday Productions. One day, we will change the world together.
Welcome, my decentralized futurists, to Blockchance 2021 here in Hamburg, Germany. I'm Miguel Francis-Santiago. This is The Future Is Now film, a roving crypto documentary that takes you all over the world to bring you the latest in the world of disruption and decentralization as we go through the global economic reset fueled by COVID. And not just, we have to take a look at what systems can we use to make the transition more inclusive and just and decentralized. So stay tuned. This is Blockchance by Fabian Friedrich and the team, 2021, Hamburg, Germany. Let's go.
This gathering, being postponed several times, has broken through COVID and held a pristine and successful event hosting over 2,000 futurists in the Christmas month of 2021. Technologists, artists, and politicians from across the world came together to seek ways to develop a model of our existence that works for everyone.
We started 2018 with in an off location in the harbor. In sea containers was our main stage, so I always tell, if you start in Silicon Valley, you start in a garage. If you start in Hamburg, you have to start it in a sea container, because Hamburg is a big harbor, maybe you don't know, it's the second biggest harbor in Europe. 2019 we moved into the Chamber of Commerce, and the mayor of Hamburg was supporting us, he was the opening speaker. We got much more attention all over Europe. Even in the second year, we've been the biggest conference in Germany, one of the big ones in the European Union. And then last year we had a big challenge, COVID, like I think many people had this challenge. So we had to postpone conference like 3 times. So the conference this year is kind of the conference 2020, which we did finally in the midst of the new COVID lockdown.
As the Miami Art Basel happened simultaneously across the world, Hamburg hosted a more hands-on atmosphere where actual builders of this technology came together. Fabian Vogelsteller, who co-founded ERC20 and joined the Ethereum Foundation in 2015, shares his thoughts on the industry's future. Matters of concern are, as always, the ongoing adoption and its implications on obsolete systems that for once in modern history seem to be losing control to something that has revolutionized the concept of money.
Everybody sees the benefits of this technology. They see the benefits and they see that it's going to be a game changer and it's going to change everything, and they want at least somehow an understanding of how they can participate in this and how this can even affect their own. But on the end, with everything old, right? The old always has an interest to survive, right? I mean, interesting enough, so far, Europe has been pretty open to anything crypto. I mean, our project Luxo, it's based out of Germany. We have been talking to the BaFin, which is the highest banking financial authority. We have been doing all of this back and forth with the regulators, and they have been pretty far open. I mean, it's slow, right? It's slow because it's like the agencies of a state, but on the end, the results were positive.
For me, when I zoom out, it already feels like too logical. Bitcoin is here to stay, and it will further grow, and I think it's kind of unstoppable for governments, this whole movement, yeah. But on the other hand, it's super logical what happens at the moment, because we have an old system dying. Yeah, it's like an animal that is about to die. Yeah, so they are trying to control and suppress what is already there, and I think the state in the next 2, 4, 5 years will grow more powerful, yeah, because they still have the tool of printing money, and with printing money they can pull in more resources, more people to work for them, yeah, and set up these control structures. But the animal has cancer, and therefore it will die.
Veronica Koot's passion is autonomy. Her current endeavor with building actually sustainable cities with new forms of governance is her present driver in seeing things as clear as day when it comes to the current system's time for change.
Bitcoin is here to stay, and it will grow. So basically, let's break it down to the fact we established our own money. What I noticed further, though, is that many Bitcoiners, many of my friends, they're wondering now where to go, because many of us are very libertarian thinkers. Many are facing problems with the fact that governments are ever-changing rules, especially in the last 1.5 years, often to the disadvantage of the resident. So what we want to do is we want to build new cities with our own regulatory framework to really have real-world communities where we can live under our own laws.
I think the monetary system is a big problem because they see the blockchain space as an opponent for their old system, which is like centralized and working since centuries for their interests, and the law of the central banks against it to hold it small and to break this movement. But I think we are on a really good way, and this is why we do this conference, because we try to bring the good powers together, and we try as well to bring the authorities, the mayors, the presidents here to take the fear away, and to show them how positive this movement is and how much chances are in the movement for a better future.
You can't change what people like, and if people start to adopt things, there's no way back. I mean, you can make it more difficult and you can make it illegal maybe for some period of time, but you won't, you can't stop an idea that time has come, and that's exactly the case here.
As we delve through Hamburg's premier blockchain gathering, it seems the space also has internal issues that are of concern to many. Tackling these will surely create the way for what Satoshi's vision has always been about, where one Satoshi equals 1 US cent, sending 1 Bitcoin to the price of $1 million.
The inherent problem of crypto still is the use case. Because most of the cryptos say, most of them are made in Ethereum or on the Ethereum chain. They say they have a use case, but this use case is not working in the day-to-day living space of the people, because all these tokens have way too high transaction fees for day-to-day business. A day-to-day business somebody does for his feeding or food in the Western world maybe $30. In other countries, $1 is a lot.
So transaction fees and network congestion is something we have already since like the last 3-4 years, really. I mean, Bitcoin is full since forever. Ethereum is full. Most of the networks are full. This just shows that there's like a lot of traction in this space and everybody wants to use this technology. The reason I think the reason why we obviously will have actually more and more networks more specifically around more specific communities is because of exactly that, right? The resources are limited and people want to use this technology. So there will be actually more networks coming that kind of disperse a little bit the load on the difference. I think what's a really big internal problem that we are having is that the standards that we are basing everything on haven't really changed much, and there's one crown standard, the ERC20, that I proposed together with a bunch of people in Vitalik in the early days. That kind of everybody's using, but there's not a lot of people who rethink this further.
The Gamb token ecosystem is based on our technology. Gamb, so to say, is our first customer, our first use case, where we gave our solution to an Ethereum-based token, Gamb, to allow this to escape the transaction fees. And we built this token on the Obelisk technology of Skyfiber, invented by genius Brennanson. And people may think sometimes, what do the transaction fees matter? But imagine what this means if this clone currency, the parallel token, is used in poor countries where $1 transaction means absolutely a lot. And imagine if this clone token is used to send aid for people in poor countries, to use them without transaction fees, because to send the main Ethereum-based token just would swallow the donation just by transaction fees.
Dr. Wolfgang Pinegger, a blockchain pioneer from Austria who founded GL Brain in 2014, currently spearheading online commerce with Gamb, power to the merchants, a payment solution powered by the Gamb token ecosystem, empowering the Gamb Ethereum-based token with a parallel clone token called GMBT, T standing for transaction, enabling a zero transaction fee swap and transfer of Gamb assets, creating a unique system for online merchants that would like to leverage the power of blockchain and Web 3.0.
A marketplace needs online shops, and online shops want to sell in the fiat currency, but we give them the option to also sell in this GMBT crypto, can integrate into GL Mall Gamb marketplace, and people can then choose there to use the crypto.
And the other thing which the blockchain space can solve is the problem that we have a centralized internet, because everybody's talking about, okay, we have decentralized system, we have decentralized money, decentralized economies. This will never work on a centralized internet. So this is the biggest problem which the blockchain space can solve and must solve in the next years. This is how I entered in the crypto space. I was doing, for Skycoin, I was doing meetups in Hamburg. And because they built this decentralized internet, but they have the idea of this decentralized internet. I was like, this is amazing. We need this. We need a fast internet, and we need a secure internet, and we need the internet for the people. We don't need an internet where here in Germany, for example, Frankfurt is main server for our internet, and if the Secret Service goes to Frankfurt, they just can mirror the internet, and I send you a Bitcoin and think everything is fine, and they just mirror the internet, and they take the Bitcoin, and you think, yippee, it's on your account, but it isn't.
Aligning the future. The question is, what does it take? We're here in Switzerland, Geneva, about to speak to His Excellency Justin Sun of the Tron Foundation. Justin recently announced that he will be joining the World Trade Organization as the ambassador to blockchain on behalf of Grenada, a small country in the Caribbean. Exciting news as we see more decentralized futurists entering the world of centralized governance, hopefully to impact the development of blockchain in the centralized world.
I get into crypto industry around 2012. At that time, there's a lot of people knowing about Bitcoin at all. I think the first place you can legally trade Bitcoin is not even empty gods. So I buy my first Bitcoin from Taobao. It's eBay in China. Some like miners just mining Bitcoin and they consider Bitcoin worth nothing. So they sell it like way less than $1 at that time. I think it's only like 1 or 2 RMB, so it's like 30 cents like US dollars. So that's how I get into the industry. For Tron itself, we are basically a DAO community, a decentralized autonomous organization. For example, this year, USDT on Tron has surpassed USDT on Ethereum to become the largest network for the largest stablecoin in the world. We are basically processing over 12 billion US dollars transaction every day with basically less than $1 million consumption of TRX and cost. So basically, I think it's way more efficient than the financial infrastructure we have today.
Tron has now become a DAO and rebranded itself accordingly, while at the same time having its founder, Justin Sun, not just announce his bid for the Blue Origin space exploration, taking 5 space warriors with him to explore our never-ending frontier, but also eyeing at creating positive impact on nation-states with his knowledge and expertise that he will be co-creating with Grenada within the World Trade Organization. There is not a whole lot of our fellow futurists who have decided to go into the political arena, which is no doubt where real change can occur. Now, with His Excellency Justin Sun stepping up to the plate, it is clear we will witness more impact in mass adoption on a global level with WTO and beyond.
I believe blockchain technology is not only advanced on the technical side, but also on the philosophical side, it's also more advanced than current ecosystem. Because blockchain technology provide a very fair participation to everyone in the world. So imagine, for example, today you are a very small country. If you want to participate into the blockchain world, the network is permissionless. You can easier to participate into the network without like any, you need to get access to any kind of the infrastructure, or you need to basically belong to a stronger nation to participate into the network.
Back in the 80s, our country faced 10 years of civil war that led to 3 million people leave our country, the United States. And that people send $7,000 million yearly of remittances. And that makes them pay $400 million in fees to companies such as RIA, MoneyGram, and other companies like that. But that's just El Salvador. It's a small country. Imagine also Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Guatemala, Mexico. There's a lot of money playing around. And that's money that doesn't stay in your people's pockets. So what we're actually trying to achieve right now is to give financial inclusion to our people.
As ambassador of Grenada to WTO, I believe all the Caribbean islands and the countries and the Caribbean communities will start to learn from El Salvador, because El Salvador is our neighbor. I'm also very optimistic about the policy deployment to make cryptocurrency, for example Bitcoin, to become their national infrastructure and legal tender, as we have seen El Salvador doing today.
2 weeks ago, we received a report from the International Monetary Fund where they actually recommend the government of El Salvador not to use Bitcoin as a legal tender because they think there's too much risk. But I believe they have all the reasons that they don't want to tell us. It's their new reality and they gotta face it. Either they adapt or they out. And they're afraid of losing the grip, the power that they have on countries to tell them what to do, to tell them what to say, to tell them where to go. If not, we're not just gonna help you out. But that's what we're trying to do, you know, economic freedom, that's the concept. We still wanna be friends with them, but we wanna make our own way.
William Soriano, a prominent Bitcoin advocate and a congressman from El Salvador, has come to Hamburg to engage with local politicians and the blockchain community, representing the first country which literally told the world order to brace for change as new governance systems that will allow humanity to be done with outdated models, dogmas, and old barriers shall be introduced, and there's no way of stopping it. Part of El Salvador's and President Buckley's strategy that William has also voted for is the introduction of volcano bonds, a unique UBI-type system that is based on Bitcoin and its mining, using clean geothermal energy, paving the way for Bitcoin's evolution.
We have more volcanoes than we need. Some of them are active, some of them they're not, but they still have magma. And if you combine magma with a water reserve, that creates steam, and that steam is what moves turbines and creates energy. So we have plenty of it. What we don't have is the money to actually harvest it and convert it into energy. But through volcano bonds. What is a volcano bond? It's a financial instrument that's going to allow us not only to build Bitcoin City and its infrastructure, but also to buy half of that money into Bitcoin and other part of that money into geothermal energy, not only to mine Bitcoin, but also to power the whole city. And that's gonna be something very disruptive and important. Is the right time to do it? Is the right way to do it? And we have all the natural resources to do it.
As El Salvador paves the way for Bitcoin's mass adoption and a UBI type of bond system based on a decentralized value exchange with green mining in mind, regardless, the majority of the governments around the world are pushing for what's called central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Is this another way towards mass adoption, or just a recreation of an old system?
So CBDCs, people say that it's good for the digital industry, for our industry, and it's going to sort of uplift Bitcoin. But I really feel that CBDCs are not that great. They're more of a tracing mechanism for these centralized governments that are kind of like roaring as their time of centralized control is kind of coming to an end.
In the future, I believe lots of the country will start to diversify their country's reserve. Myself is very open to all the CBDC and all the currency in the world. As I said before, I'm a huge believer for Hayek theory, so I believe a full competitive money markets. So if the CBDC itself is based on a permissionless blockchain, for example, like Tron network or Ethereum network, any people can get access to central bank digital dollar, which make this kind of digital dollar equivalent to Tether and the USDC or TUSD available on market now. This is gonna be a big step for the cryptocurrency industry. Second scenario, I think they just make a very close source, just as you said, right? So it's like basically it's just like a traceable centralized data source, which gonna hugely undermine their reputation and also undermine their influence on the market in the first place. The philosophy behind all the CBDC, how they design it, will definitely determine the results of those CBDC.
El El Salvador, that's a step in the right direction. That's exactly where we need to go. And that's moving the model, the systems in the right way for the future. We need to quit recreating these models and then wait until the bubble gets big enough, and then we do a bailout or the bubble bursts and we have a market crash, and then we go right back to the same system. Isn't that the definition of insanity? The man at the top, the slaves, the laborers, the farmers at the bottom, and the middle class, dividing humanity into classes. There is no dividing into classes. We're all Homo sapiens, you, me, and everybody else.
Marc Buckley, an SDG advocate at the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, has been pursuing his whole life a model of existence that works for everyone. Being fond of blockchain technology, but still wondering whether it can be adopted into the Sustainable Development Goals agenda of the world order. Marc's mission is quite unique, being in the den of the locus of control, while also trying to bring change to the system with his vision.
My big vision is there's this old Sanskrit word, it's called seva. Seva means to be in selfless service to life. And I add another word to the beginning of that, regeneration, selfless service to life. That means that there's no man on top, that it's also not this ecocentric view where man and woman are in the middle of all other species, but that we're all in this symbiotic relationship together in a regenerative model for long-term generation. It's distributed, it's decentralized, it's equal and fair for every human being on Earth. Emerging technology like blockchain, like distributed ledger technology, are fabulous for this if they're run on a model that is in symbiosis with the way our planet works, in a regenerative platform model. But if they're this emerging technology that still uses a horse and buggy to get from point A to point B or to Z, that's not going to work.
Western Europe, the EU, and then especially Germany and maybe also Austria, we are very centralized countries. Means we have the toughest tax solutions and laws. Banking is dominating everything. But the young generation has already realized that they do not want to be part of this game in all their future. And the young generation in itself will just change it. And many people from the centralized world will not even realize until it has happened.
When we rethink money, we also need to rethink governance, because if Bitcoin works out the way we think, and we're pulling the funds from the state, and we're having them not being able to inflate the money and debase the money of everyone else, this is the most powerful tool we're taking away from them. So the power of the nation state will deteriorate, and then is the question, how do we govern and how do we manage ourselves? And we think the solution for that is to have many thousands of smaller entities where we have bonded communities, where we know each other and where we trust each other, so that we get rid of this anonymity that we have as residents in a very large nation state. The strategy is to spend the least amount of energy on focusing on the old system, but rather build the future over here and make everyone educate others and make people join our system. Yeah.
How was your experience in that? Pretty much, I have to say, a groupthink organization, right? Where you know, it's.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm still with the UN and the World Economic Forum. So I just barely finished the COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland, which was a failure. Real honest, let's talk about it. We were supposed to meet a lot of nationally determined contributions, goals, make sure we were at on track to 1.5 degrees of warming, and nations and countries missed the boat. We ended up leaving somewhere between 2.3 degrees of warming, clear up to, there's discussions of 2.5 degrees of warming, and that's the trajectory. And this was right after the IPCC report that came out, says code red, alarm for humanity as far as the trajectory of warming. In action, we need to start moving and doing things. And you're kind of, I mean, behind me and in this room, you can see these stuffy old guys with ties and suits on, and this very hierarchical structure. A lot of the way the United Nations works is in that same way. Where those nations and countries failed at the COP26, private corporations and organizations stepped up to the plate and said, we're going to do 120 trillion and 130 trillion US dollars in commitments and ambitions to 2030. Now, whether those commitments are greenwashing, if they're real and we can get them committed and get those monies put into the system, that's more than enough that we need to reach the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement.
We as human beings, we shouldn't deny the fact that the way we're living is harsh on our planet, on our ecosystem. But I think the whole green lobby, I think they are trying to do their very best. They have the very best for our planet in mind, but I am not a big fan of interventionism. So they are trying to establish some green rules, but it doesn't help if these green rules go against free markets and building sustainable structures in the long run. It sounds often very good in the short run. And when we think of setting up a global monetary network that is powered by, in the mid to long run, 80 to 90% renewable energy, and which is not pushed up on Bitcoin, but the miners have an incentive to use this renewable energy. And for that, we get rid of all this financial infrastructure, all these buildings in the cities, people commuting to work, have all this energy that is used on printing money. And so if we can get rid of all this energy, no one is talking about how much energy our traditional financial system uses, and transfer all this to Bitcoin, where we're using renewable energy, and have a global network that is super safe and can be used by anyone, I think this shift is worth it.
Blockchain business is way more green than most of the financial infrastructure in the world. You can run the cleanery and the settlement of the transaction, use it like permissionless, like everywhere, without any kind of you don't need to have a physical place, you don't need to hire like an employee. Bitcoin is an amazing network, basically processing trillions of dollars, basically just using computing powers, which I think is a miracle. As long as we are pushing forward the blockchain technology revolution, we are basically also contributing to today's green agenda or sustainable agenda.
I think Bitcoin is going to allow our country not only to repay all its external debt in a few years, but it's going to also bring to El Salvador so much investments that it's actually going to take our country to the next level of prosperity.
The whole world lives on consensus. The whole world lives on agreeing on things. We now have the technology to make agreements very transparent and very executable. It's very important to be open-minded and understand that this is a paradigm shift and there's a lot of very interesting things we can do. But we need to make sure that we agree on things, and it also means especially that we have to standardize a lot of things.
The word crisis is in Chinese, in Mandarin, it's the same word like chance. So in every crisis there's a chance. And I think we have to take the chance we have right now in the history of humankind to build together the foundation for a new era of humanity. We have to be strong over the next years. It will be not easy. We are kind of in new dark ages right now, but they will be over. Like the old people, like the elders, the Maya, and all the other old folks said, we're hitting a new golden age, and I believe in it. And you should believe in it too, and we should fight together for a better world.
you're gonna remember this exact point in humanity's history, where we changed completely the monetary system in the whole world. And countries who actually get into this will experience economic freedom in a few years. It's the right time. It's possible. We did it. Ask your politicians and your governors and your legislators and your congressmen to actually trust the process, pass the laws, and make it possible. We did it. The smallest country in Central America was the first one to actually make Bitcoin a legal tender in El Salvador. This hand voted for the law.
Will we pass the fork in the road with abundance, peace, regenerative models, and allow Bitcoin to lead the way? Or will we fail in creating a future that our children deserve? There is no more time to waste. We must take action, as it's clear that freedoms, liberties, and lives are at stake. The spring has never been so tight as it is now. Our planet awaits. The question is, are you ready for change?
Keep heads up, keep going, and just use all possibilities and don't rely on old systems for your hopefully very long future. Because very soon the world will change very much, and all will be towards your intention and for your benefit.
Come together, because it's a long way ahead. We want to build really completely new structures from scratch, a new monetary system, new communities, new governance models. So educate yourself, join communities, network, and yeah, let's pull this off all together.
I want to empower billions of people to live an adaptive lifestyle of health and sustainability within the safe operating spaces of our planetary boundaries. We are all crew members on this spaceship Earth. These emerging and disrupting technologies are fabulous, but they're not without risk of pushback for those who are still holding on to antiquated, outdated models because they're used to that in history. And we're going to disrupt that and transform. Through the transformation to get to a new epoch, we must disrupt, we must have that conflict. We will come to that symbiosis that we're all crew members on this spaceship Earth, and that is a model that doesn't just work for the few, but for all of us.
When you watch this film, the revolution of blockchain industry is just getting started. So happy to join us and also join our industry for the next 5 and 10 years.
Join us at the next Blockchance with Fabian Friedrich, and welcome to The Future is Now DAO, with our mission in educating, enabling, and creating opportunities for our community and for you. You can't change the world, but you can change what's to come. Stay tuned to the future. The future is now. Fix the money, fix the world.